Greetings and welcome. We are Da'el. We are appreciative for this opportunity to co-create with you here today, this day of your time. Today's transmission is a continuation from our old soul conversation. However, today it is all about starseeds. There is much confusion regarding old souls and starseeds. We ask you to refer to our transmission regarding old souls after hearing today's message so you can better understand the features of both of these categories of awakened souls. Let us now return to starseeds. As with everything, if you put a label on something, the definition of that thing will be dependent upon that person's understanding of the definition. As such, there are many humans upon your planet providing many different definitions. Dearest ones, that is wonderful, as it gives you opportunities to decide for yourself what resonates, what does not, and most importantly, the desire to move beyond the need for words, but instead communicate and learn through thought. Our definition of the term starseed is regarding a human who has usually not been incarnated upon Earth before, but was in a different dimension, density reality when they heard the call placed by the old souls and Gaia to assist them. These starseeds left their existence to become human. Let us explain slightly further. As an analogy, the universe operates on a gigantic clock full of cogs and wheels of different sizes, all spinning in perfect harmony, but at different speeds. Gaia had begun to slow down, so to speak, and was starting to go out of sync with the rest of the solar system, which then began to slow down your solar system, and so forth and so on, in order to assist Gaia return to her proper speed, in order to keep the universal clock clicking along. The starseeds came into Gaia and incarnated into human form to be little workers from the inside to get Gaia back up to the proper speed. You may ask why the universe did not just reinstate Gaia's speed to the proper speed. Well, dearest ones, Gaia operates on a very specific and unique speed, which is called free will. Part of what makes this universal clock so unique is Gaia's free will speed. How can one know how special it is if you take away what makes it so unique? Yes, the higher dimensional beings that watch over this particular part of the universal clock could technically overwrite the free will aspect and put Gaia back to the faster speed. But then that takes away the beautiful uniqueness of Gaia. So instead, if you send in little workers into the uniqueness without them knowing what is going on, then you do not directly influence the unique characteristic, but instead leave it up to the workers to figure it out on their own, how unique it is, and then they start fixing Gaia's speed. So you see, dearest ones, we love you so much. Starseeds had to agree to not only losing their memories, but also be thrust right into parts of the most damaged sections of Gaia. It was hoped that if they experienced part of the most damaged sections, then that would give them reasons to search within. What is the damage to Gaia? Darkness, dear ones. The darkness has slowed down Gaia, so to speak. The darker the energy, the slower the energy, in a general way of thinking about it. Think of being in a dark room full of furniture. Think about how slowly you have to navigate yourself throughout the room so you do not hurt yourself on the furniture that you cannot see. Now imagine the light has been turned on in the room. You are able to almost run around the room even if it is full of furniture. You feel like nothing can stop you. It is the same thing with humans. The more darkness was brought into Gaia, the slower the humans had to move. The slower the humans moved, the slower the evolution of consciousness. The slower the evolution of consciousness, then the ascension process is unable to occur, which does ripple throughout the entire universe. Let us now discuss the different types of starseeds. For the convenience of this discussion, we shall generalize the types of starseeds into two categories: wanderers and volunteers. Wanderers and volunteers are the same thing, except wanderers go throughout the multiverse wherever they are needed over and over, whereas volunteers agreed to leave where they were to come help out, and then once done to return home to where they came from. You can think of it as this: the wanderer's full-time job is to travel to help others, whereas the volunteers only helped out as a kind, one-time offering of love and support. Wanderers are of a high consciousness level in their evolution, whereby it is their current directive to go where needed throughout the multiverse. After they have assisted in one experience, they then move on to another experience that requires assistance, spreading light. Yes, there are wanderers of the dark vibration, but those are few in comparison to the wanderers of the light vibration. The wanderers came to Gaia once they were no longer in assistance to another existence. Wanderers have a gypsy spirit, willing to go wherever or do anything in life. As such, they have a hard time being in one place too long. Wanderers are usually leaders, encouraging everyone to try different things. Wanderers could be considered as not reliable, as they will only do what feels good to them at the time, and quite often would cancel plans made with others. Wanderers question everyone and everything as they do not adhere to the status quo. Wanderers would be considered as stubborn, as they are usually not willing to compromise to make others happy if they do not believe it is for the best. Wanderers usually do not have what is considered social skills. Wanderers are usually very good at everything they do and are usually promoted to leadership roles wherever they go. Wanderers usually do not maintain long-term romantic relationships. Many of the following characteristics of the volunteers are the same for wanderers. The volunteers have an extremely vast variety within them. Volunteers can come from high dimensional consciousness, just like the wanderers, or they can come from other physical bodies of the fourth dimension, or anywhere in between in the scale of evolutionary consciousness. The volunteers deliberately left where they were in their particular experience of existence and agreed to help out by taking the high risk of incarnating into human form and possibly creating a timeline where they might get lost in the third dimensional experience of illusion and not be able to return home. Returning home is crucial for volunteers and is usually the driving force behind any depression they experience. Volunteers have what we will generalize into 4 categories. We will now speak about characteristics, but we speak in general as all humans have the choice of free will to overwrite these characteristics. The following characteristics are only with respect to the first 3 categories of volunteers. Most volunteers have a deep yearning to return home, but do not know where that is, but are searching for the feeling of home. And no place upon Gaia ever feels quite right. Most volunteers never had a burning desire to have children or to get married in the traditional sense. Most volunteers feel this inner call towards a career in helping others. Most volunteers do not fit into society, but are the ones who had difficulty making long-lasting friendships. Most volunteers feel like they need to be chameleons because their true self does not fit into the norm. Most volunteers can see the answer almost immediately to any problem and have a hard time maintaining patience to those around them who cannot see the answer as quickly. Most volunteers have a high IQ if they choose to be tested, yet have difficulty in the typical school system. Most volunteers have had health issues as children. Most volunteers had birth mothers who had difficulty in conceiving them. Most volunteers love looking at pictures of galaxies and feel a deep love for them. Most volunteers will have an experience of something weird happening to them. Most volunteers are very magnetic to other people, but the people do not stay long due to the intense energy of the volunteer. Most volunteers cannot understand the concept of money as an exchange system. Once awakened, most volunteers have a deep connection with masters. Once awakened, most volunteers have a deep connection with galactic families and not the angelics. Once awakened, most volunteers feel they should be able to use telepathic and telekinetic abilities. However, this quite often is active even prior to awakening. Let us now discuss in detail each of the 4 categories. The first category would be those who may have had a couple of human lives prior to incarnating in order to get their feet wet, shall we say. These volunteers were the very first ones who came running to Gaia's call. These volunteers are the warriors. These volunteers originally came with the mindset, determination, and fire to rally up the human race and set them free. What these first volunteers did not know was how strong and heavy the dark energy was on Earth. Most of these first volunteers have become depressed. Their inner fire and passion is not the same as it was, and have allowed their depression to take over the majority of their lifespan. These volunteers have the ability to rise up and take charge, so to speak, if they allow their fire, passion, and warrior spirit to reignite. Most of these first volunteers incarnated between 1945 to 1975 as an approximation in your time frame. These first volunteers jumped into human existence without enough preparation by the Federation. The vibrational disharmony was beyond what these volunteers thought they could handle, and as such were unprepared for the dark and heavy energy. Most of these volunteers may have married or may have had children, as it was part of the human experience. But most of the marriages did not last due to the extreme depression within these volunteers. These volunteers are the ones who feel less of a gypsy lifestyle and prefer the more traditional stationary experience. These volunteers were the guinea pigs, so to speak, of the volunteers. Dearest ones, we love you so much. If you are the first volunteers, we say to you now. Now is the time to remember. You charged ahead with the Excalibur sword in hand, leading the way for the other volunteers. You took many hits being on the front line, as the type of armor required was unknown. But you are now in the energy of healing. Rise up, dearest ones. Regain your strength. Regain your power. Regain your excitement. The Federation learned much from these first volunteers, and the next volunteers were made better prepared for the incarnation into human form, with implants, imprinted lives, communication systems, and more timeline activations included into their blueprint. The second category of volunteer are those that incarnated for the very first time upon Gaia after 1975 as an approximation of your time frame. The Federation learned so much from the first volunteers that the second volunteers were imprinted with past lives of humans upon Earth. This is why so many newly awakening volunteers think that they have had past lives, is because they are remembering the imprinted memories that were implanted into their consciousness. These fake memories, but from real human lives, were implanted so that way these second category volunteers would have some sort of reference point when interacting upon Gaia. They have had the depression of the first volunteers, but it did not last as long. These volunteers are usually not in a long-term romantic relationship, usually do not have, nor do they want children, usually have a hard time finding a career, and yearn for an entrepreneurial life. These volunteers usually prefer being alone or with animals, but avoid being around people. Dearest ones, if you are one of these second category volunteers, we ask you to hear our words now. Activate your antenna. Allow the lightning bolts of divine love light to flow through you and into Gaia. You will activate the DNA of anyone you come into contact with who has an open heart. See yourselves as the most powerful lightning rods possible, exploding love light wherever you go. You are electric. You are magnetic. You are love light in its most energetic form. Create the pillars of light with every step you take. Implant these pillars into the crystalline core of Gaia. The warriors of first category volunteers created the path for you with their Excalibur sword. You can be the lightning rod, implanting the power of love light into Gaia. The third category of volunteer are those that incarnated for the very first time upon Gaia after 1975 as an approximation of your time frame. These volunteers are those that are calm, relaxed, and know they can change the world without effort in the traditional sense of the term. These volunteers have a quiet inner knowingness that constantly drives them. They know they can have, do, create anything. They know that it is easy to do anything. They know they can have anything given to them without effort. These volunteers easily create daily miracles all around them by knowing the principles of manifestation. These volunteers already have their DNA activated and incarnated into Gaia, ready to go, so to speak. Dear, beautiful ones, we love you so much. If you are one of these third category volunteers, we ask that you hear us now. The warriors used Excalibur to create a path. The lightning rods used their antennas to bring forth the light. You, beautiful ones, create with the light. Take what was provided for you by your preceding brothers and sister volunteers and create the knowledge and the power of a new thought consciousness, that of ease and grace. Let it be known that life is to be easy. Let it be known that life is to be graceful. Show the people of earth the gentle ease of manifestation. The fourth category are those that we shall classify as other. These are beyond what you would perceive as a normal human. These are those in physical form that are masters, that see no veils, that can bend and alter everything around them. These are the ones whereby you would know beyond any doubt what they are. These volunteers do not share the same traits as the other three categories because they do not feel the separation between their physical form and Source God. They know they are one and the same. They know they are I am. Dearest ones, you are the only one who will know what rings true for you. We encourage you to look within. We encourage you to find a method of asking yourself yes or no questions whereby you can feel a deep pull towards a yes or no that comes from your heart. We encourage you to spend time each day reflecting upon memories of your childhood that you forgot about but seemed odd to you. We encourage you to spend time allowing yourself to open the door of possibility by asking yourself, is it possible things have occurred to me in the past that I dismissed as my imagination? And then see what pops back into your mind. Dearest ones, we love you so much. Our final words for you are this. If you are confused and wondering about who you are and what you are supposed to do, it is our deepest knowing for you that your confusion will pass very shortly, and the amount of knowledge and knowing that will be pouring into you through your own open heart will make you laugh at the fact you ever forgot who you were. We leave you now in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator, Adonai.